Welcome back everyone to Angela's Craft Room. In the previous video we did this aged antique look on this card using the Stippled Blossoms stamp set, and I said I'd come back and show you how I do the inside of the card when I'm doing a full-on like an order for somebody or something, and you want it to make it really extra special, and also how I do my matching envelopes. So we're going to do that, but I first wanted to show you with that card and with the last few tutorials I've been using these little Distress ink pads, and they are really great, because what I find is when I'm stamping using my MISTI, or I'm using an acrylic block like that and it's not a large stamp, I find the normal size ink pads are very cumbersome and you end up getting ink all over you. So I just wanted to share with you those. They're little 1-inch square ink pads and I just really love them. And the last few videos that I've shown you, I've actually been using those, but I don't always mention what ink pads that I've used, so I just thought I'd share that with you. And also I just wanted to run through, I did do it quickly in a previous video, but this is using the Distress ink pads, and the only thing that I found with the Distress ink pads when you're two-step stamping is that you need to work out which inks go with which are going to correspond and go together when you're doing your two-step stamping. So what I do now is when I find a colour that I like, a colour combination I like, I make up these cards and I write down what ink pads they are, so that when I go to make another card I can just pull this out and see, oh yes, I just need those 2 ink pads, and it's just so much easier. So I'm just showing you this one up here. This is all with the Distress ink pads. I've used Spice Marmalade and Dried Marigold stamped off once, and then the next one is Ripe Persimmon and stamped off once with Dried Marigold. And the lovely pink one there is Picked Raspberry and then stamped over the top with Spun Sugar. So it is a really good way to keep a sample of what you've used, because you take so much time in working out what colours go with what. It's just a great way to keep a record. And then this particular card here that we did yesterday, or not yesterday, in the last video, this was the combination. So I also have combination cards. So the leaves were Cracked Pistachio, and then Pine Needles was the deeper green stamped on top, and then your little flower there is Festive Berries with Tattered Rose, and then the flower there was the one Ripe Persimmon, and then Dried Marigold stamped off once. And then I just have this one more combination. So the leaves are completely different. So you can see the different leaves. So it's a good idea to keep it. So this one up here was Fossiled Amber, and then Mustard Seed stamped off twice. And then the little flowers there are Ground Espresso and then Antique Linen, and the leaves were Bundled Sage and Forest Moss. So that's what I've started to do now, and I just keep them in a CD case, one of Stampin' Up's CD cases that you can buy in a pack of 4. I've just keep them in there. So that's just a few little tips. So we're going to get started and we're going to stamp the inside of the card. So this is how we do it. Now I've got my stamp on my block and I'm using Ripe Persimmon of the Distress Ink pads. We're just going to stamp that up. Now there's no wrong or right way, but I just wanted to share with you how I do it. So I usually start down in the corner and stamp that one off like that. And then you can go over a little bit, over that other flower a little bit. Now I do like to not stamp up each time because it adds a bit of character to the way that it turns out when it's not fully stamped on every single one. So then I'm going to go up into this corner and then I'm just going to go without stamping, without re-inking. So that's our so far. Then I'm going to ink up and do another corner. And then just over the top of it and then we've just got a couple more. So you can see how effective, just with that little bit more work. I'm just going to go have that down like that. Now I will re-ink again because that is a stamped off image, so I want to have a nice big bold flower in that top corner. And then if you've got like a little bit of white space on the corners or anywhere really that you just like to have a little bit of colour, just don't ink up, just go round and use the ink that's on the stamp. So you can see, I think that makes it just a little bit special for inside your card. So that's the inside of the card. Then I get one of Stampin' Up's Very Vanilla. Now you've got to make sure, you've got to think how you want this stamped on the back of your card, because you don't want your cards, you don't want your flower, sorry, to be upside down. So just think when it's closed, I want the flower to be up like that. So I'm just going to open that up like that. And just ink it up. And then I'm going to do a little one without, I'm going to overlap it and not ink up. And then I'm going to ink up again. I don't do this all the time. This is only I do if someone's asked me to make a card specifically for an occasion for them. Like that. And then I will ink up and do the one on the corner, and then I can fill in the other spots. then I'm just going to fill in that spot. So it's so that's how I do the back of my envelope. And then on the front, just ink up, and I just do one single flower. And it depends what you're decorating your envelope and inside card with. It mightn't be a flower, it can be anything, just depends what sort of card you're making. And then I would just, with this particular one, I'm just going to do one big flower right down in that corner, like that. So that's your envelope, well, that's your inside of your card, and then that's the front of the envelope, and then that's the back of the envelope. So I think it really adds just that little bit of extra touch when you want to do a really nice present, or if you're doing an order for someone. And that goes with the card that we did yesterday. As you can see, I've done the inside, and that will pop into that envelope for me. So I hope you've enjoyed the series that I've done on the Stippled Blossoms stamp set, and all the techniques can be used on using any stamp sets at all. So I hope you've found all those techniques useful, and I really appreciate you subscribing to my channel. And until next time, happy crafting!